The earbuds I'm going to talk about today have really taken me by surprise. I mean, timing-wise, it makes sense to see a successor to Technics AZ60 released back in 2021, but I wasn't expecting to be making a video about what could well be the new best true wireless earbuds on the market. The AZ60 are still a great pair of earbuds. They've actually finished in the top 3 overall in the Earbuds Awards 2 years in a row, but the features added to the new models elevate them to the next level, basically completing the feature set and, best of all, introduce a world's first for multipoint, the ability to connect to 3 devices simultaneously. There are 2 new models to discuss, the AZ60 II and also the flagship AZ80. We're going to cover all of the differences between the two, all of the upgrades over the previous AZ60, and why these might be the new champion for true wireless earbuds. A quick look at the unboxing first then, which will seem familiar to those who own the older AZ60 and is essentially identical for both new models. So for accessories, we're given a rundown of the default controls and then 7 pairs of different sized ear tips. Typically just 3 is the standard, but Technics go the extra mile in making sure you find a set that fits perfectly. We then have the charging cases themselves, and finally the usual paperwork alongside the USB-C charging cables. So those charging cases are now fully black as opposed to the lighter gunmetal grey, with silver accents for the 60 Mark II and gold for the bigger AZ80. There are also silver colour options for both, and this rather nice midnight blue just for the 60 Mark IIs. These cases now offer an additional LED inside the case to let you know the earbuds are making correct contact with the charging pins, and it will also stay lit whilst the earbuds are charging and turn off when they're done, so that's a really nice touch. But one of the best new features for the earbuds as a whole is the addition of wireless charging. Both the 60 Mark II and 80 support this. That was a key missing feature from the predecessor, and one I'm more than happy to take a slight size increase to get. So there's a new handy way to charge, and you can now track the case's battery life alongside the earbuds, which is a nice added touch, but the overall battery life is essentially the same. All models offer 7 hours on a single charge with ANC turned on, and around 24 hours in total with the case. The earbud design is essentially the same for the 60s. Obviously we have this new darker finish, but they fit and feel just as before, whereas the 80s offer some nice ergonomic improvements. There's this extra ridge that sits in the conch of your ear to maximise stability and comfort. I understand this is the flagship earbud, but I do find it strange that this design wasn't applied to both new models, and this certainly gives the best fit, at least in my ears, by far. The AZ60 are quite good for workouts, but can become loose when lying down on a workout bench, for instance, but I find the AZ80 greatly improve this, and for me, they certainly make the best option for workouts. Of course, it's highly dependent on your ear shape as well, but that's one of the more important differences between models. The 80's extra stability is obvious, but I wouldn't really say there's much in it when it comes to comfort. I find I can wear all of them for hours at a time without any problems. The IPX4 protection remains unchanged, so these will survive sweat and splashes of rain, but you definitely don't want to submerge them underwater. The earbuds still use the same responsive and highly customizable touch controls as before. You can set individual controls for either side, set separate controls for during phone calls, and these work really well. Another key new feature though is wearing detection. That was a notable omission from the AZ60s that has now been added to both new models, so you can auto pause and play simply by removing and placing back an earbud. Customization is really the key word with these Technics earbuds. For instance, you can now customize the voice prompt volume, or change voice prompts to simple tones instead when changing ANC mode, and something I've never seen before with earbuds is choosing a different announcement for each device you connect to. This is great when using multipoint, and rather than simply hearing connected, you'll hear the word that you've chosen for that particular device, so you can identify them and know you're connected or disconnected without even looking. You can customize wearing detection too, for instance to only auto-resume your music if the earbuds are worn again within 1 minute, and you can disable the touchpads when they're out of your ears to avoid accidental touches. So those are new app features for the latest models, but some useful returning ones are the ability to toggle which ANC modes are cycle between. I prefer to add in off mode as well, selecting which voice assistant you want to use, including a built-in Alexa option, whether you want to prioritize connection stability or the lag, so that's especially useful when listening with LDAC or when watching videos, and you can customize the auto power off feature for battery saving as well. Combining all of this with the ability to fully adjust both the ANC and the ambient level, you can see that the earbuds offer a lot of customization and features for getting them tuned exactly the way you want to use them, which is actually quite a good selling point. Now as for the noise cancelling performance, this is pretty impressive. Not only do these block out a lot of noise passively, but there's a noticeable reduction in noise turning on ANC, and it's effective across the range of frequencies, including for things like voices. The Mark IIs are a step up from the AZ60, and in turn I think the flagship 80s have a slight edge over the Mark II as well. They're easily a top 10 noise canceller overall, and the fact that the ANC level is fully adjustable gives a great user experience. As for the ambient sound mode, it was excellent with the AZ60 and is once again here as well. I noticed there's a louder artificial hiss with the AZ80, and although your surroundings still sound very clear, it's actually better with the 60s instead. Once again, this is fully adjustable as well, which is great to see. Plus there's an option for either transparent, which is essentially fully open to your surroundings, or attention, which is the focus on voices feature. Now, like most other earbuds, this particular mode doesn't effectively isolate other noises and keep only the voices clear. However, it does include a feature where your music will auto-pause when you switch over to ambient mode. It intentionally doesn't do this with the transparent mode, so actually you can simply choose the method you prefer here, and again I like the added customization compared to what most earbuds give you.
Okay, so I'm filming now with the AZ60 Mark II, there's some light wind today and there are cars passing in the background. And all of these earbuds did a really good job of isolating my voice, but the test results were interesting because I actually found the original AZ60 were better for phone calls than these new Mark IIs. Now, Technics are claiming to have improved their Just My Voice feature for phone calls, but there hasn't been any obvious improvement so far, at least from my testing. Now, I retested this multiple times just to make sure, and to be fair, they're usually pretty close, but on the whole, I'd have to give the edge to the older AZ60. There was much more obvious improvement with the AZ80. My voice just seemed to be the clearest, and the isolation was the best as well. In fact, these are one of the best earbuds for phone calls in general. Now, all three of these did still struggle with wind noise. That was an area where I expected to see a significant improvement, but that just wasn't really the case with real-world testing. Still, if phone calls are a priority, then the AZ80 are the best way to go.
I'll move on now to my favourite aspect, which is connectivity. So basic things first, the new models get a Bluetooth spec bump up to 5.3, but still offer the SBC, AAC and LDAC codecs, with Bluetooth LE support coming later in the year. There was no issue at all with lag when watching videos, and the latency is pretty good with gaming, but not perfect. There's a slight delay you'll notice with fast games like COD, which you can improve slightly with the lower latency connection mode, but I think it's perfectly acceptable for any casual gamers. The standout feature I want to talk about though is multipoint. Now this was already a strength with the AZ60, and in fact they placed first in the Earbuds Awards for this category because you can not only keep LDAC and multipoint running at the same time, but there's seamless switching between devices too. What I mean is you can be listening to music on one device and the audio will automatically pause and switch over as soon as you press play on another. You don't need to manually pause first, so it's super convenient. It was pleasing to see how stable LDAC was even with multipoint and when set to the maximum bitrate too. Often earbuds can struggle with this and therefore defeat the purpose of having LDAC in the first place. All of that returns this year alongside an industry first for multipoint, because you can now connect to 3 devices at the same time. This is excellent for those of you who have a setup with, say, a PC and use both iOS and Android, or maybe you have a Mac, tablet and phone combo. Well, you can now be connected to all 3 at once, and at the time of this video, no other earbuds can do this. I was surprised at how stable the connection was. I loved having my music auto-pause to take a phone call and auto-resume afterwards, and beyond the convenience of this feature, it's just a really impressive tech demo. Now, you can't have LDAC at the same time as the 3-way multipoint, which I think is a fair trade-off. But once again, Technics raised the bar for multipoint, and when you combine this with Google FastPair support for instant setup and pairing, high-res codecs and the latest Bluetooth spec, these earbuds have market-leading connectivity. And just to be clear, this is supported on both the AZ60 Mark II and the AZ80. And finally, let's talk about sound quality, which we know already from the AZ60 is a major strength. Now, I will say right off the bat that the differences between all 3 models is a lot more subtle than you might expect. I had to listen multiple times to all 3, and even in a perfect listening environment, it's hard to nitpick those differences. So if you're not an audiophile, I really wouldn't consider sound quality as a major factor to separate these. So the AZ60 sound is exciting and dynamic as opposed to completely flat, with strong, powerful bass, a rich mid-range where vocals are still prominent, and highs that can shine but are definitely recessed in the default settings. I've always had to use the treble boost EQ, or a variation of it, to bring out a much clearer and more crisp sound, and that's the same with the new models as well. You get a lot of customization over the sound here, with a 5-band custom EQ and lots of presets, including a new super bass EQ with the latest models, so you can fine-tune the sound to your preference. Certainly if you want to crank the bass up and turn these into bass cannons, you absolutely can do that. Of course, we get high-res 24-bit audio with these too, and that's carried over to the new models as well. What I've found with the Mark IIs is a very subtle tweak in the sub-bass region to bring some more control to the low end, but I should stress just how subtle this is, and in a blind test, I'm not sure I can identify these against the regular AZ60. With the AZ80, I expected a much bigger difference than I actually heard. One of the key spec differences is the larger 10mm drivers, but they've been tuned to deliver a consistent sound with Technics' other earbuds. With some repeat testing, I think I can just about hear that driver size increase, and the sound just feels more controlled or perhaps more effortless compared to the 60 models. Certainly when you crank up the volume, these can handle the sound better. Not that the 60s are distorting or really struggling as such, but there's just more control and a bigger sound. Not to mistake this with louder though. In fact, there seems to be an issue at the moment with a strangely low max volume on LDAC with the AZ80s. This doesn't happen with any other codec or at all with the 60 Mark II, so I hope this is just a software bug that will be fixed soon. Overall though, I think I would still rank the earbuds in the logical order in terms of sound quality, but you shouldn't spend extra on the AZ80 just for the sound, nor should you expect any significant difference here. So which of these pairs of earbuds should you buy? Well, I think the first thing to say is that the additions of wearing detection and wireless charging immediately make the new models a much more attractive proposition. Those stood out as key missing features before. The subtle improvements to customization, the mic and ANC quality, and even the new 3-way multipoint are really just icing on the cake. And what a cake that is. These earbuds now tick pretty much every single box in terms of features, they sound fantastic, and there's really no area of weakness. After pitting the AZ80s against the other Earbuds Awards contestants, all 100 plus of them, it perhaps comes as no surprise that we have a new overall winner. Technics AZ80 are the best true wireless earbuds on the market. But most of the new great features are not exclusive to the flagship model, and when you look at how the Technics earbuds compare against each other, the 60 Mark II are only just behind. But crucially, there's a significant price gap, and I don't think $100 justifies the slightly better ANC, the improved earbud fit, or the better mic quality. So the AZ80 might be the best overall, and they're certainly my personal favourite, but I can't deny that it's actually the 60 Mark II that holds the better value for money. Both are obviously on the higher end in terms of pricing, but in this instance, you get what you pay for. These are clearly both flagship pairs of earbuds that set the bar in 2023. So there we go, an industry-first new feature and a new market leader for true wireless earbuds. Let me know what you think about these down in the comments section. I'd love to hear if you think there's a better pair than these right now, and of course ask any further questions you may have about them. If you found this video helpful, then please give it a like because it really helps out. Subscribe to see more videos like this one, including the best earbuds under $100, and don't forget to hit the notification bell as well so you're notified when new videos go live. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.